It's the holidays. I'm triggered. What do I do? Let's find out. So this video comes from Sam Masis, big shout out for the topic. And today we're going to be talking about overcoming triggers. Now, in specific, we're going to be talking about how to overcome them during the holidays. However, what I share with you today can be applied to any situation. So this is kind of, holiday specific, but triggers in general. So triggers are something that I know I still deal with and that are a huge part of life. It's kind of a hot button word right now in like the pop culture world. So triggers can be anything that elicit an emotional response or a memory that in turn triggers an emotional response. And so it can be, for example, seeing certain family members, it can be seeing certain people, hearing a certain song. It can be really anything that kind of brings up that emotion. And it can be a really difficult thing to deal with, especially when getting clean, because there can be triggers everywhere. For example, when quitting alcohol, like driving through by the liquor store can be a trigger. Smoking weed, smelling like the weed smell from somebody else who's smoking or something, that can be a trigger. And often what I found was that at the beginning I was not strong enough to be able to have the trigger come up and not act on it. So it's definitely something that takes practice, and it can be overcome though. And now when I have those triggers, I just kind of laugh, or I don't even think about it. When I smell weed, I'm like, oh, that's nice, because it does smell good, in my opinion. So in the holidays in specific, Christmas is right around the corner here, and holidays can be especially triggering time. Seeing family members, seeing old friends, oftentimes there's a lot of partying, drinking involved, and so that can be a trigger. And that can kind of bring up the sensation and the desire that, oh, I want to be participating, I want to party too. And however, we're on the sober path, so that is no longer an option. Now again, maybe you'll slip back and you'll kind of get consumed by the triggers and the holiday spirit or whatever. Hey, as long as you get back on the beam afterwards, that's what matters. Personally, I still get a little bit triggered during the holidays because of the food. I know a lot of my family members, they don't really have any specific diet or anything, and so there'll be tons of sweets everywhere. There'll be certain cookies and galore, and I'm just like, oh man, I would love to engage and indulge. And however, I have to be strong now. And now that I've gone through a few seasons and a few holidays, I'm no longer, taken aback by the trigger. So today's video, we're going to talk about how you can kind of overcome these triggers when they come up and begin practicing not getting triggered. So the first thing is going to be set an exit strategy. And this is something to do beforehand, of course. Kind of an excuse that, okay, if I'm in the situation and I'm starting to get triggered and I need to take a step back because in a couple minutes I might be, down in the bottle, I'm going to say this line or this phrase and be able to exit away. Now, having this phrase ahead of time is going to help with kind of that awkwardness, because I know that can be one of the most difficult parts, is saying hey guys, I just got to get the fuck out of here. Nothing on you guys. And it can be really hard to say that, even though we know in the back of our mind, no one's going to really care. Life's going to go on. But there can be this part of us that's like, wow, everyone's going to know, everyone's going to be judging me. And so having something that pre-planned that I can say, so something I might do is I might be like, hey guys, I just need some fresh air. Gonna step out for a sec. Boom, be like, cool. Other times, be like, oh, gotta run to the bathroom. Simple as that, right? Oftentimes, if you're kind of just chilling, you can just leave. No one's really gonna care. So having an extra strategy is the first thing. Second thing is starting to identify these triggers. So through journaling, through meditation, being able to be like, okay, when these certain things come up, and it's kind of a trial and error, so you might have to go out there and experiment a bit. When these things come up, this is how I react. And so therefore, in certain times, certain situations, I'm not going to partake in this certain behavior or be around this certain environment, etc. So for me, when I have a big work event or I'm about to shoot a YouTube video, I try to stay away from salt, because salt is a big trigger for me. When I start eating salt, my face gets really puffy. I get a dopamine spike, and then I feel just kind of blah. So I got to make sure that I stay away from that leading up to shooting a video or leading up to some kind of big work event or even a date. So those are triggers for me. That's something I work with, and it took some time. It was a bit of a trial and error. And now I feel confident that, okay, I know what this trigger does and how this is gonna affect me. It's time to choose otherwise when the temptation arises. Now, let's say you're going into a situation where you know there's gonna be a lot of triggers and you can't really like prepare as well as you want to. It's coming up quick. And maybe you're feeling a lot of anxiety. This might be like the first season you're getting sober, first time seeing family since you stopped drinking or smoking or whatever. What I recommend is kind of preparing ahead of time. So doing things like exercise, really making sure the few days leading up to it, I'm like in peak spiritual condition. And this way, I at least have like a bit of a buffer and a bit of confidence knowing that like, hey, I might be triggered in this situation, but I'm good inside and I'm a little more in touch with myself. And that's gonna be a really important thing in going out and facing triggers, whether it be during the holidays or whether it be just in life in general. The closer you can be to who you actually are on like a spiritual, emotional, physical essence, the better the easier it's gonna be to ignore the triggers, because it's gonna be like I'm just me. I don't need to be swayed by any of these outside influences. Now, this is easier said than done, I know. However, doing the things I said before is really going to help this. So like getting a good workout, maybe a day or two before seeing family or whatever, getting a couple good days of meditation in. 10 to 20 minutes is really what I go for. 20 is like ideal. Sometimes though, 10's enough. Making sure I'm getting good sleep, making sure I'm staying hydrated, making sure my diet's as clean as possible up to those few days. And in doing all that, I find that I can kind of just chill. Like if I do get triggered in this situation, I can kind of go into my own little world and just kind of sit back and just be content with where I'm at. It's almost like I'm in a meditation in itself, and all of a sudden all these triggers, they're just like things, and I'm like, I actually feel a lot of gratitude that I'm not engaging in those substances or behaviors. So that's gonna end the video for today. Happy holidays. Big thanks again to Sam for the suggestion. Subscribe down below, really helps out the channel. Talk to you soon. Peace.